Good morning, Patrick here, coming to you live from Complete Health in Eastbourne, and just jumping on, talking about probably my favorite ever topic to discuss, which is the balance of life, which when we look at any principle of anything in the world, pretty much you can bring it back down to this rule. And the likelihood is you've heard me talk about this before, which is the 80-20 rule. And this can be applied pretty much to all aspects of our life. Now, if you were living in a house and you got a team of people in to come and do the work on your house, and you saw the builders and you'd ask them to obviously strip back, replaster, and repaint, and they just started painting over the old walls, would you be pleased? And the same principle would be true that if you came in and you saw the builders and they just kept knocking walls down, but then they never rebuilt anything, would you be pleased? And the likelihood is we know that you can't keep doing the demolition on your house, and you can't keep doing the repair on your house sometimes without breaking some walls first, and you can't repaint until you've taken down the old wallpaper, and you can't rebuild until X or Y or Z. And it's the same principle with the car. Sometimes you have to remove an old part to put a new part on. You can't put a new tire over the old one. It just doesn't work. And so what we have to understand with the body is there has to be some level of balance. Now, our body is designed to feel stress, and it is designed to go through the stress process. And we have two parts of our nerve system that are there for this exact reason. So most people have heard of the fight and flight response, which is that sympathetic part of the nerve system firing up in response to something going on in our body around us. Now, this is very much like the breakdown. Like when you have your house and you have to knock down walls in order to then rebuild and repair. And our body needs the same thing. So let's just look at a couple of examples of stuff that you may have to break down in order to build and repair. If you want to build muscle, you have to go into the gym and tear the muscles in order to rebuild. If you have an injury, you have to create inflammation. So you have to break things down and you have to tear down that old scar tissue for then the muscles and the tissues then to recover. If you have a broken bone, your body then has to break down that circulatory system to that area, build up scar tissue, you would build back up again. So sometimes we have to break down to build up, but the balance has to be right. Now, our body is designed to feel stress. Now, if we look in nature and we look at the way that obviously, say for example, a deer or an antelope was being chased by a tiger or a lion, and how that body then responds, or that animal then responds, it will go into that fight or flight mode. It's that breakdown, it's that survival instinct, and the hormones and stuff that come with that will throw a lot of our blood to our extremities away from our organs, because we're not necessarily thinking about recovering. We're thinking about survival, which is super, super important at that time. But then when the threat has gone away, within about 20 minutes, that creature goes back into recovery mode, whereas humans don't necessarily always do this. But what we have to understand is there has to be this principle of both break down and build up. So let me ask the question: if you kept knocking the walls down in your house, but you never did any of the renovation work, how long would your house actually start to last? And the reality of it is it wouldn't last very long, in the same sense that if we started taking parts off of your car, but you never actually put the new parts back on again to rebuild it, what would happen to your car? Same again with any principles. If you started taking out parts or components of your computer to rebuild and recover that, and you never put them back in again, what would happen? Now, our body is exactly the same. Now, if we live in that stress response, or we're constantly putting our body through stress, we're overtraining, we're over-exercising, we're undersleeping, we're not eating an adequate diet, etc., etc., or we're sitting or moving in bad patterns that stress our body out, but we never do any of the work to then recover from it. Essentially what we're doing is the same principle of knocking walls down in our house, but then never ever 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 rebuilding them. And if you never rebuild, guess what? Your body's never going to recover. And this is where I see most of my clients when they're coming into the clinic, because they've been working in demolition mode in their body for months and months and months and months and months. And then when all of a sudden, when we start to actually put some repair in and recovery in, all of a sudden the body starts going in the opposite direction. But the principle is that if you can balance the recovery to 80% to 20% stress, that's when the body actually starts to show true recovery. If we're going out of that balance, then what we tend to see is people start to break their bodies down. The stress response starts to actually irritate tissues, increase our hormone imbalances, reduce our absorption rates of certain vitamins and minerals from our diet. If our body is constantly stressed, technically what starts to happen is our blood flows away from our vital organs. So we're not even absorbing the nutrients that we're eating. So you can be eating a really adequate diet, but if you're stressing your body out, it won't absorb any of those nutrients that you're eating. So it's always worth looking at the principle or the balance of break down to build up. Now, if you want to learn some principles on how you can actually balance those things out, there's tons and tons of content on our YouTube channel about ways that you can actually improve in your health, improve in your sleep, improve in sleep hygiene, hydration, exercise, etc. But if you need some professional help, or some of those principles that you've been trying are not working, then please just reach out to us. We would be happy to help. You can always drop us in a message or a comment below, and we'd be happy to start sending you in the right direction. Guys, until tomorrow, I'll speak to you soon. Don't break the body down without doing some recovery first. Speak to you soon.